And we are with the crew back. It is my good friend Danny Bacon, and of course our special guest tonight, Nick Huckson.
I missed you guys.
How you doing, Nick? Nice to have you back, buddy.
Nice to be back, Scottie. I missed you. It's been like a couple of months since I've seen your pretty face.
Well, some would say otherwise, but I'll take it nonetheless. There she is.
Yeah, she's got so much clothes on too. So
yeah. Hold on a second. Yeah, I got to put on blinders.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's
put the whitewater to work
like Lawrence does the show. And
yeah,
I don't mean any disrespect. Just I don't want to be caught looking at that. Anyway, great start. Again, welcome Dan. Welcome Nick. Thanks. Great to have you back. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a lot to talk about. Lots been going on since the tournament ended. Lots going on in the background. We have an announcement ourselves tonight, but of course, just to go through some of the other venues. But I guess before we do that, Nick, what have you been busy doing?
Oh man, it's booking season, so I've been all over, literally all over Canada or Ontario, anyways, through Canada, through Ontario and Quebec. I was down at actually fished the Zale Cup bass tournament about a month and a half ago or a month ago. It was a pretty cool experience doing a little bass tournament. Awesome job. I think pretty sure we have a special guest there next week that might be able to talk a little bit more about that. But hint, hint, nudge, nudge. But yeah, it was an awesome event, and then just getting bookings done. We're visiting dealers all over Ontario, Northern Ontario, and Southern Ontario. I'm heading back down your way. I think first week of December too, Scott. So maybe we might be able to get together and grab a burger and a beer.
Let's do it, buddy. Sounds like a plan. Okay, with that being said, of course, as we have said, whether we're fishing or whether it's off season, we're still busy, all three of us. And what we've been managing to put together is no different than some of the other venues. So I think with the folks that are in the audience, Chris is loving the duster.
Yeah, Movember got a little out of control, guys.
And we got Christelle all the way up in Hearst, who's joining us, and talk about extremes.
Marilyn International.
Where's she down in Jamaica?
Correct.
Unbelievable.
We've got a wide broadcast area tonight. So
incredible. Well, let's hope we don't disappoint or embarrass ourselves too badly. But needless to say, there is lots to talk about tonight. So let's get right to it. Of course, the NOWT has announced their dates for next year's Walleye Trail that they're going to be conducting. Obviously, the events that are there are noted. Championship is going to be in Long Lac. Anything that jumps out at you two? I mean, obviously, being part of the NOWT, any surprises there, or that seems like a good dates in terms of the calendar and the walleye cycles.
They're all dates that have always been filled by NOWT events, so it's all following through. So there's really not any change in that regards.
A new one is also the cash is going to be the first event of the season. I think is May 31st. The first it was just announced on the NOWT page as well. So
right on. So lots of options there, and of course our great friends over at MFN Fishing also made an announcement. Their Fall Walleye Classic is September 5th and 6th. As I said, Danny, when we first went live, before we went live, it looked like there was a conflict there, but there's been a change in terms of the dates.
Sorry, I missed part of that, Scott. You were breaking out there.
So I just noticed that there was a conflict. If you look at the dates for the Fall Walleye Classic for MFN, it was the same as the St. Mary's River. That has now changed, you're telling me?
Well, there's some rumors floating around that I'm not going to confirm on this year, but there's some talk about that as well as the cash coming involved. So I don't think they've any official announcements have made on any of their kind of moves. And but this is pretty exciting to see this. I know there's been some talk about this for a little while, and it's Larry especially has got a little special place in his heart for the Waswanipi style of tournaments, those bigger prizes, and he's always wanted to introduce that in the Matagami. I think Nick was there as well. We did the COVID event they had a couple years ago where it was a big entry fee like that. I think actually wasn't it Matt and Denis Perry that won that? Matt Gucci, and so it's kind of following that lines again. But this year they have the Pro-Am, so I kind of like that idea. So it's kind of 2 tournaments in one, so it's kind of exciting to see.
No, that is 100%. And of course, we do like that sort of elite pro / amateur type division that they have. So good on them for bringing that in. And I don't think it's new, but it might be new to their venues. So we're excited for them because it looks exciting. And of course, the payouts, you can't balk at those payouts. You know, as I said, see this kind of money floating around in these walleye trails in the north is I just shake my head the whole time. It's unbelievable what you guys are able to put together. Truly impressive. But of course, we are here to announce our exciting news. Still in, I wouldn't say in the R&D phase, Dan. We're coming together a little bit more each and every day.
Absolutely. Like we've had an official event for a little while now, since August. Really, we've that's been in play when the meetings took place with the township and everything else. So, we're very happy that it's been really picking up steam in the last. I say the last month, a lot of things have happened. The 3 of us have been kind of busy with that and getting everything lined up. Sponsorships are lining up in place, and we're all fairly new to this side of the tournament aspect. So we're all trying to make sure we have everything lined up. And got to introduce you to the venue, so you got to see what I've been trying to pitch the last little while, because this is nothing new. Anybody who knows me, I've been talking about this for maybe 5 years now, so it just finally.
Well, you're 100% right, and the one thing that I do envy the two of you is that you have in common together is how well you have explored this fishery, how well you have done on this fishery, and we will be showing you some of the highlights of these two very shortly. But of course, without further ado, it is going to be called the North Channel Walleye Open. And for those who are familiar with the Spanish River and the Spanish area, and of course the Spanish Marina, by all means, you will know exactly what I'm talking about, where this venue is. But nonetheless, we are proud to say that this is going to house the first walleye tournament in a while. Correct, Dan, if I'm not mistaken?
Since Sagamok's departure, which Sagamok only explored the river, so Zone 10, we're solely going to be Zone 14. So Spanish motto, it's on their signs, is the gateway to the North Channel. We're kind of smack dab middle of it, and so we're the only boundary we're going to have is the river's off limit, because they've removed the slot sizing there. So we can, if you guys want to run the Sault Ste. Marie Little Current, it's up to you. It's your fuel. It's obviously a catch and release fish, so we're going to lean heavily on the fish management and then how to take care of it, just like we do it all over. And, I'm very excited for it. Obviously, this is my hometown. I've been wanting to do this for a very, very long time, and even when Sagamok was around, I used to push them, and I know a lot of guys like Nick used to push them and say that we got to get on the big water, we got to push out, because contrary to belief, a lot of people, like the walleye here in Spanish, they don't live in the river. They come in, they spawn, they pull out, they follow the bait up in the fall, and then they pull back out. And they live in that area called basin. So it's a very large area, and that's where everybody's fishing right now. And and it's a nice area where you got to explore actually a couple weeks ago. So just to give you a rough idea, like the fish out there, the numbers is absolutely insane. It's out there. It's like that for very long.
That's awesome, Chris. To your question about pro and am, we'll have Christelle and Jessica on to discuss exactly that in an upcoming show, because I think it's a great question. It's actually a question that I posed Dan earlier this afternoon. How would you, outside of the obvious pay-in difference, what other differences are there going to be? So you know what, Chris, I'm just as interested as you. So we will wait for Christelle and Jessica to join us. Dan, before we bring in the illustrious Nick, we'll do our best job talking about, I don't want to say the more boring side, because everybody wants to talk about the fishing. And Nick, I had the luxury of watching the video that was put together with you and Dan sort of featured in. It was all in French, and as I said to Dan, I don't care. This is wonderful to watch. And we'll get to this wondrous fish that you caught during that episode in a sec. But just to talk about the venue itself, Dan, obviously there is so much to share, and we will try and do our best in the upcoming shows. But a quick overlay as I arrived, and paid witness to what is going to be an incredible venue, an incredible spectacle, and if everything comes together, something that folks are going to talk about for a very long time. But right offhand, Dan, what made you think this venue was savvy enough, worthy enough?
Well, like just geographically, just how the marina itself is laid out with the hall, the complex. It has 2 roads, so you can actually we call it the back road, or I think they call it the second road, or something like that. It's hardly used, so we can mediate traffic very easily. As you can see, like this is actually the marina is pretty empty in that picture. Boating is very, very popular here, so we have a lot of like 40, anywhere from 25 feet to say 60-foot yachts in there, and cabin cruises stuff, as well as fishing boats. So it gets very busy during the summer, which is why the fall was my target area, because we do not want to affect the local marina. We don't want to affect its business period. So we want to work with them, and they're very, very eager to work with us as well. Like everybody here in the township is the mayor, the councilors, everybody, the CFOs, they're all very excited about this project. So when you see the back road up by the lagoons coming down, we can stage all the boats. There's room for 200 boats and trailers up there. So there's lots of room as they come across the hall section towards the marina, the launches for boat inspections and stuff like that. For those that choose, they actually, I think the rate is $10 per night with hydro. So people can leave their boats plugged in and don't have to worry about putting them in and out. Lots of campgrounds in the area. There's lots of that available. So once we've launched our webpage, we'll highlight all of the local areas, all the local campgrounds and marinas, and everybody will be on there. Whether they're affiliated or not, we don't care. We want to make sure that there's links to everybody. So as an angler that travels out, one of our biggest hurdles every single time is lodging, fuel, bait, all that stuff. So you're always reaching out to your friends to try and find those answers and questions out. So we want to be able to provide that right away on our social media as well as our web pages. So, and it's so handy. We'll be able to do that very quickly. So a lot of questions that people will reach out for us, we're hoping to answer it real quickly when we launch early in 2025. But back to your question, the marinas, it's almost like it was designed by a tournament angler. Like you got to see when the way the hall itself is absolutely amazing. It's fully licensed. It's got a dance hall that the occupancy is 350 people. It's got a very large deck that overlooks the whole facility. The marina has a double boat launch. We have the day slip as well as there, and we're going to be hopefully introducing, this is our plan, as a outside dock. So like I said, once we don't want to interfere with local marina traffic and boaters, stuff like that. That being said, I know a lot of them because I grew up as a boater. My parents still have a cabin cruiser, so they're all going to be very interested and love watching that, and they'll be in their boats and they'll be having a good time with all that and joining us for the celebrations as well. And we have too many options actually for our weigh scales and our fish management areas and that we're still trying to figure out how to keep that flow going. But it's a nice problem to have as opposed to being very limited in what you have to do, right?
100%.
And then as well as the trade show, that's your neck of the woods there, and you've seen what we had to offer there. So
the beautiful thing about this, and Chris, I look at you as a great opportunity or a great example of the kind of draw that we want from brands that are within the area. This whole area that you could see, all the steel girders, that's going to be one big large deck. Again, we took measurements based on the buy-in from the vendors that are so loyal to us, who will make this trip up wherever it is that they come from, 6-7 hours, to join us that weekend. There's going to be a handful of them, but also we want to encourage folks in the area to come down and help promote their product as well. This being the deck of the upper level, and it is going to be adjoining to the licensed area. So, of course, you're going to have a lot of people milling out on that deck. The idea of putting you underneath it, of course, is if for whatever reason, knock on wood, we don't have any weather issues, at least you are somewhat covered. But it is going to be an outdoor trade show. So how we set it up and how many vendors that we get signed up for it will depend on the floor space that we provide. But this is something.
sorry, Scottie, I didn't mean to cut you off, but just to kind of add to your trade show stuff like that, people didn't realize we used to host a rock concert here. We had 7 years we held a rock concert here, and so we used to have on average 25 to 3,000 people in this area. In fact, the rock concert area now is the parking lot for all the boating. So that's the other thing we have a lot of. So it goes well for the trade show. There'd be lots of room for everybody to mingle and meander around and set up booths and tents and stuff like that without actually being in the way.
Now, as a fellow angler, Nick, I got to ask you sort of your take on how significant is it having a trade show as part of the venue? And please be honest, because at the end of the day, of all the NOWT events, some of the CSFL events I've seen, you don't see a lot of vendors per se sort of promoting their products at these shows, at these events. As an angler, how cool is it having some of the vendors that you actually use their tackle of during the tournaments?
I mean, it's definitely excellent as an angler, but I mean, think of everyone else that can show up. When we blast off in the morning, we have action from start to finish. It's never a lull in the pace. We're out there fishing, then we come back, we weigh our fish, and then we have something to do. Right now, we can take a look at it. But having I think it's a great idea. It's fantastic for a little bit of participation as well in amongst the community to see what we're using and what we're promoting and be able to hands-on. The last tournament I fished at Zale Cup, there was Lammy Sports was there. They had a booth set up with all of the hot tackle that the guys were using for that event set up there to be able to be purchased, which was really neat. I thought that was great. Such a great idea. So I'm loving the idea of having this trade show that's going to be down there as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it is. It's anytime there's something else a little bit different that we can add to it. Yeah. So sorry, I got children here that are I got little ones, but yeah, any extra to add to these events, I mean, it's nothing but a bonus.
Well, I'll be honest with you. One of the reasons I thought of it as a great idea was because of you, and also the NOWT. The fact that you guys built community with all of the RVs, all the tents, all the camping that went on during these events. Yes, it was serious. Yes, you anglers are very competitive and you take these things very, very seriously, but there's also an element of social fun. And, Nick, you're always at the forefront of all that. You're making sure everybody's having fun. And of course, you will be tasked to do the exact same here at the Spanish venue, our North Channel venue. But, yeah, I just think that, this can become like a weekend event that people can sort of, mark it in their calendar and say, every weekend in September on this date, we're going to be up at the Spanish, because not only are we going to, pay witness to a great event or participate in it, but we'll also have that opportunity to show off and pump our own tires at a trade show, as well as just participate in what I think is going to be a lot of fun for anybody that comes. And the fact that we have, Danny, we've got hotels, motels very, very close by, shopping. You've got a grocery store, shopping stores close by. You've got convenience stores close by. You've got cheaper fuel just down the road. Like, there's so much that this town of Spanish offers to not just participants of our tournament, but just people that visit the town.
Sorry, I lost a lot of that there, Scottie. You were cutting in and out, but I kind of got the gist of what you're going with, and yeah, like Spanish is one of those little gems. It's a very small community. Like, our population is only about 700, but surrounding we bring into about 2,000 with all the camps and cottages. We have I think 5 lodges in the area. We have 4 of them within a mile of each other all here that we're all going to be working with. 3 marinas. We have multiple gas stations, like full serve systems, or not full serve, but they have all 3 grades of fuel just outside of town. We have a LCBO, which is very important for a tournament angler, of course, especially on the weekends. But we have the Fresh Mart here, was the little grocery store, which is and plus a corner store. We have bait supply here. We also have, the other places like in the Sioux and Sudbury, they know what they have here. They already recognize it. So I know that they're going to be coming in, working with everybody. So it's surprising how this little community, just where its location and what it provides, tends to draw in a lot of stuff like that. And for myself personally, like I like to think that I'm among the professional anglers, and I moved into that group, and I started off fishing these tournaments. So I really want to bring people into the world that I've gotten involved with and how much I like to it, and it get to expose that. And it starts off with the tournament, especially when you're in your local area, and people coming to watch you take off in the morning, like Nick's saying, we do like that little audience, and that's one of the things that we got to experience a lot in a lot of the venues we went to, whether it's Duberville, Matagami, or something like that. So we want to provide that same feeling, which is why it's a Friday, Saturday event. That Saturday night turns into a lot of fun, and that's usually when all the truth comes out. So we're done bullshitting with everybody. And, that's why you roll there.
That's when the serious side is out, Scottie, not any other time.
Yes, no, 100%. Nick, obviously, since we took to the air tonight, we've managed to sign on, I will say 3 sponsors, because I know POW Casting will be there front and center, but also our good friend Eric has said, count us in as a sponsor. That's
awesome.
That's awesome.
There you go. And we got Junction Tackle Company. I've seen that as well.
You got Chris Bain at Junction Tackle. So there we go. I mean, we're building community already. We haven't even started.
No, we're very fortunate with that, and then, like I said, everybody we got to know, and like obviously they're tuning in, so they care, and that's exactly what we want. And I know what they all bring to what their value is worth. So having them on board and committed, especially already, like as we're still building it, is overwhelming. It's actually it speaks volumes to what we have going on here. So it's I'm very excited about it.
No, totally, and as am I. Nick, it's your turn.
Good.
I think you know a little bit about Spanish and the waters that surround this area, and the bountiful waters, I should say, that surround this area.
Dude, we're just gonna start it out by it's the land of the giants.
It is.
It's like, I don't know, 30-inch country. I don't think it's there's a time that I've been out there in the last few times that we haven't got one knocking on the door of 30 inches. I think actually we were in doing one of these lives back in the spring, and we just put out Cranky just to say, hey, let's do it. We got a 29-incher while we were live. So I mean, it just shows you the caliber of fishing up there. And I mean, there's going to be anglers that show up. You're gonna pull up on a rock pile or a mud flat or something like that. There's going to be no joke, hundreds and hundreds of 22 to 26-inch walleyes that are not going to be tournament quality fish. These are not what we're looking for to win this event. Mind blown. Like, you're going to be chucking back 24 inches are going to be boat flipped. Because they're not tournament quality fish out in this water. Like, you're going to need a couple of 28s and your perfect unders to even be in the conversation. I think that's my guess here.
And that, to me, as I said, everything that you guys tell me, I always accept, and I don't hold any concern for it being truthful or a fable or a story. Everything I kind of hear from you guys is I take as gospel. And the one thing I will say is I completely underrated and undervalued what the Spanish walleye fishery is currently at in terms of production, quality, and just sheer health.
It's something of disbelief when someone that hasn't seen what that fishery has to offer, like guys down in Bay of Quinte think it's a big fish factory. Well, yeah, the Spanish area is as good as Quinte. Plus, you can throw in, and you decide to pull in on those mega schools of 22 to 25-inch fish. You can have 100 fish days, and your arms will be burning. I mean, you've seen it. I'm sure you bumped into those schools to see them firsthand.
Well, I'm just really glad that I had Dan as a guide that day, so I was able to see the fishery. The Spanish, I guess I'm not very fluent in Spanish yet. I still have to get my feet wet and take a few more classes, but I will say it was an honor, and I was absolutely just blown away. As his netman, the amount of 20-plus walleye that came to the boat that day. And when we talk about that day, Dan, I think we broke it down. We had 4 hours roughly on the water, three of those hours were fishing. I couldn't catch anything because I was too busy trying to pick my jaw up off the ground. Every time you hauled in a fish, it was absolutely ridiculous. But a good question up here, Dan, something that we might need to talk about, Nick, as well. When it comes to your limits, the overs and the unders and how that's going to work, probably be a great time to explain that.
Yeah, so we're zone 14 has 2 limits actually. So as we've seen in the Bruce Mines west and the Sault Ste. Marie, there are a lot of, it was 4 fish per angler, Nick. Everything, nothing under 15 inches. Whereas here we have a slot, nothing between 16 and 22 inches, and only 2 per angler. So therefore, an angler can only keep 1 over 22 inches and 1 under 16. So in a team of 2, we'll be seeing 4 fish limits come into the scales. And the tricky part, as everybody who's fished here can attest to that, finding the smaller fish is actually the hard part. And then guys are going to get caught up playing in these 25s. So that's where it's kind of a unique fishery. Is there's going to be no shortage of catching fish and finding those ones there. But I think that's why the fishery does so well. Is quite a few years ago they implemented that slot, and I'm born and raised here. I've been here my whole life fishing the system. Spent my entire life in the water. I'm not gonna tell you how old I am. It's been a long time, and I've really noticed it, especially in the last 10 years. To that point, like it's November, and I was used to going out there, maybe see one other boat, maybe 2, especially getting into late November. Guys are gone deer, you didn't see anybody. Now I go out there, there's 30 boats, and it's not affecting the fishing in any way. Like you see. Mm-hmm. In 4.5 hours, we hit 6 different spots on purpose, and I did some traveling just to show you. And I could easily confidently say we see at least 1,500 walleye in that time frame. And that's not including what we caught, obviously. And we caught some big fish, so it's an impressive fishery. Understanding the bait movement out here it can be a big thing, especially in September and that transition year. That's one of the reasons why I'm kind of excited about that, because I like that late summer bite. And I like the fall bite. That middle one there, it can snake bite you from time to time, but there's always a bite somewhere. And it's just, that's where you get to see. But like you look at Nick's fish, we were trolling. That's not something I do here. So you can work any kind of fishing for walleye that you're comfortable doing. You can produce a fish like that. And I've seen bigger. I've got a 15-pound walleye, and I personally have seen a 17 that Schaefer caught, and I've heard the M&R telling me they've seen 18s when they've done boat inspections. So there's big walleye here, and we all know it.
Jeez.
And like, not just here, not just in Spanish. Like we run outside. Like I've showed you a little brief output. Won't speak. I call it the basin area, which is kind of when you leave Spanish all the way to that John Island period. I just call it the basin. It's a big area. Once I go through Little Detroit, we start hitting the Little Current. There's big walleye out there. They're a little harder to find, and the water's a little cleaner, and it's a little bit more, I get into that Benjamin Islands, Clapperton, and all those kind of systems like that. They're there, but you can waste a lot of time looking for them. Or you can head west and get into those kind of systems in the Serpent Harbor and Serpent River and those places. So it's Lake Huron. You have so many options in front of you that your only limit is yourself. Really. And
that being said, Danny, too, for the people that are looking at it and might not say, oh, well, I might not have the boat to fish out there, right, or it's Lake Huron, there's a lot of places to get out of the wind, get out of the waves, and still be on giant fish. It doesn't, it's not like we're in the wide open where we're launching from. It's big water, but it's not giant water. It's not, we're not going to see 8-footers rolling in that are angry with confused waves.
I've seen Mattel be a lot angrier than this.
Yes. Yeah, I have no, I've never had an issue going out there. I've been in some, as heavy a winds as you can get out there to be still fishable in my 18-footer, and I've never been concerned with danger. Like as long as you're a competent boat operator, you should have no issues out there in an 18, 17 and a half foot boat. It's small enough water that we can still fish there until you get out past the basin area into the big water.
That was one of the things, obviously, when I was there with Dan, I wanted to make sure, we tick the boxes and we address a lot of the issues. And that was one of my bigger issues. Of course, fog, there's absolutely nothing you can do with that. But wind is always an issue with some tournaments. I won't say all of them, but some tournaments. And just because it is Lake Huron and it is the North Channel, we got to deal with big water. But the beautiful part, as Dan has mentioned and you just touched on, is all the coves, all the little bays, all the little points, inlets, narrows. There's so many areas to fish. And if you were like me and you bought every single episode and magazine of In Fisherman, everywhere they said in that magazine that it should hold fish or fish should be there at this time of the day, you know, with this kind of wind, with this kind of forage making its way in, they're there. Everything that you have read in Fisherman can honestly say you know a little bit about fishing, because the fish that they say should be there are there. And not only are they there, they're there in numbers. So here I am watching Dan cast to 26, 27, 28-inch walleye. Cast. Like, you don't see that. You don't hear that typically. It doesn't matter what body of water you're on. To be casting to fish that size, that's the part that just absolutely blew my mind. And I know Danny can attest to that, because
it's crazy as well, Scott, when you I think the last time I was out there with Danny in September, early September, the fish were shallow, they were in weeds, and you're seeing 30, 40 fish along the weed line. I cast out at them. We're thinking they're all 20 inches. And I was like, oh, that one looks a little bit bigger. Cast at it. Right with those fish, there was I got one just under 30 with them out there in September.
Incredible. There's a question. Sorry, Dad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
There's a question down here in regards to overs and unders. And it's a valid question. Makes sense. Instead of paying attention to the unders, why not just forego and just strictly target overs?
Yeah, we've had this discussion, and it's not something that we're shying away from. And quite honestly, I wish we could do 3 fish. The fact that we can only do 2, you're going to end up with such a juggernaut that realistically, like we'll show later in a video when we start talking about weights. These unders out here, like a 14-inch walleye is a pound bang on. It's almost gospel that it's going to be a pound. So if you're catching a 15 to 16-inch walleye, you're in that 1.5 pound range. If you're bringing in 2 of those over a tournament, you got 4. You're potentially leaving 5 or 6 pounds off the scale. That could be the difference of you winning first place or winning 10th place, because your under game could be a little bit different. And that's a decision we all have to make. And generally, we have to make the decision. Well, actually, like metogamy is another perfect example. When I fish it, I'll pick up metogamy a lot because I fished it often enough. We go fish for big fish first off, and then guys tend to struggle at the end of the day for their unders. And you always hear that. I couldn't get any good unders. I was finding, cigars or dinks and out there, but that's what they got. So the same problem lies here. And the people that generally do good in the tournament are the ones that have that good overs and good unders program. So it's not just more of a putting the biggest number you can up there, because we just don't have enough number of fish to do that with 2 overs. But you have to take that calculated risk. When do I pull off these overs to go for the unders? And that's I think when people get into that, like myself, when I was one of the biggest learning curves in tournament angling, when you start getting into that, is the decisions you have to make, the commitment you have to make. Just you're almost sick to your stomach knowing I got to run 50 miles because I've been catching big fish over there. They may not be there at tournament day, but you take that risk. And Nick's taken more of those risks and had way more success than I have, because sometimes you chicken out and he's like, well, I'll go get my 6 unders and not going to. So that's kind of the reason why I like that format, is having the overs and the unders. Just for that reason. Now, that being said, because we're trying to encourage people to get into it as well, and I want people to get used to it. They may know a good underbite, so they're allowed to bring 4 of those in. It's not necessarily trying to discourage people from not coming in with just 2 fish or something like that. So,
Nick, would you agree? Are you on board with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to all ideas still. But yeah, it's a matter of having the more than 2. It's I think having a big fish derby is we'll have to lay it out there. But as far as right now, absolutely, I agree with Danny. It throws another competitive edge to the fishing, right? Like it's not just going out and catching those. It's strategic. It's more of the chess match, as well as building building the game up, like going out and knowing when to, like Danny said, knowing when to pull off those giants to give yourself time to go out. Or a lot of times what we'll do is, like Danny mentioned, we'll go out and get in metogamy or Duberville or something else. We'll bump in and get our unders right away, and then at least we have something. They might not be the biggest unders in the that we could weigh in, but if we grind out all day, at the end of the day, you're never going to win a tournament with just the unders. You need those big overs, so at least you can fall back knowing that you have some fish in the boat, and you can focus the rest of your day out. And if you get your overs, you can slide out and or slide in and get your unders generally either or into different locations. They don't live a lot of times in the same place. They become food.
Yeah. And I will say this for the sake of the fact that we're going to be targeting so many overs and having quality trophy, personal best, master angler class fish available. We're going to make sure, and we'll be announcing the help later on. But I'm very excited to have this gentleman joining us as part of the fish measuring and fish health and recoup area, because he knows a thing or two about making sure big fish get back to where they need to go in order to keep the fishery alive. But again, when I talk about the fish, I can't talk enough about it. But something that you had said, Dan, and just to put everything into perspective for people who may not know this area, may not know the type of fish that it has, the quality, size, what have you, but 2 overs can put you in a very precarious situation and perhaps in the top 10. But like these fish are right in the slot, Dan,
yes,
as you mentioned. And then, of course, we have the 30.5-incher that you caught that's outside. But then
the North Shore Walleye Open awaits you.
You love the North Shore as opposed to the North Channel.
I know.
28-inch.
Tourney midday, this would have put us at around 23 pounds for today. Beautiful. Nice 28-incher. It's an arm length.
Yep.
Think of that.
Walleye Open awaits you.
This was just shy of 10. Plus, you had another fish. This
28-inch.
Tourney midday, this would have put us at around 23 pounds for today. Beautiful. Nice 28-incher. It's an arm length.
Yeah, baby.
And then, of course, this donkey. What was that again, Nick? How much that weigh?
It was 12.93, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Unbelievable.
And then we got those monsters right there.
Yeah, on the wall. Yeah, and you
That's
notice, especially this one right here. Up at that there.
That was 15 and a quarter pounds, that one. So that's what we're dealing with there. And you guys kind of broke up.
He doesn't get kicked out of the sushi bar. That's what that fish looks like. Holy smokes, man! Well done.
They love sushi.
Can I put a friendly wager out there right now?
Oh, here we go.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say there's going to be a walleye that breaks 14 pounds weight in that tournament. And I'm going to guess 40.5 pounds takes the tournament. Heard it here first.
40
on the pound per hour.
But here's the thing, Nick, to your credit,
yeah,
you nailed Duberville. Like you nailed it. You told me what the weight was going to be, and boom. You told me what
do.
Yeah, what could happen in the Sioux? It happened. So I will say this. This is why I say I take a lot of what you say as verbatim, because to me, you haven't done me wrong, and you always seem to be right.
Oh, let's hope it's consistent. I'd love to see that 40-pound mark breaking for 8 fish, 2 overs, 4 overs, 4 unders, and having something break over 40 pounds. Like I could see it happening very easily. Like, and you know what, it might be.
We're a little later in the year, to touch on Nick's point. Like that day we were weighing our fish, obviously, in that 30 and that 28. Those two combined were 20 pounds. So right there. So then, like I said, you include those 2 15-inchers, you got 23 pounds. So that's the big difference when you're looking at the top of the scales. But I love Nick's optimism, and I've seen Septembers like that. Obviously, it's water temp dictates a lot of our feed, which determines how fat they're going to be, right? But I've caught 31s in September that were tipping 11 pounds, no problem. So I've caught 32s in July out there that were barely breaking 10. So they feed heavily on Cisco, whitefish, and smelts and gobies, and you can tell the ones that are feeding on the fattier fish, and then the other ones that are on the panfish. And But it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of the thing that I'm excited about. If I can just thinking of the field that I think should be arriving, the anglers that have become here, there's going to be 20 to 25 boats that could walk away with this. Like that could break this down fast enough and figure it all out. And that's exciting. You love competition. That's what drives me. That's what gets you better. So I'm looking forward to that point.
Christelle is asking a great question that I know the three of us have talked about at great length. What is the maximum boat field that we are going to allow? And Danny, you know the venue better than I. You two know the anglers better than I. Who's going to come? Who's not going to come? I certainly have a guess on where I'd like to see it, but I know you, Dan, have a more educated number in hand.
Yeah, so right now it's our inaugural, right? So it's our first one. So we're not really sure the participation level and who's coming in and stuff like that. So you kind of play a little bit more tentative and a little more safe. So we're kind of capping our field at 90 boats. So that'll be the max for this year or for next year coming up. So the goal, everything's going to be gold around 80 boats. We have a projection in mind of what we think is going to be showing up. So we're pretty gung-ho that we're going to be okay with that. And it's just one of those things. The only reason why we're capping it at 90 right now is more or less just to see how we can handle it with our volunteers and our group and our facility. I think we could easily get north of 100 if we really wanted to, if the fields can accommodate that, because the location can. It's more or less how we can manage it, traffic control, boat control, scales, and all that kind of stuff. So as we learn, we'll adapt to that. We've been, fortunately, there's a very, very good source of information for us from other events that we're able to talk to other directors they're very open books. They're very helpful with us. And, Nick and I have fished other events. Nick's done more than I have in the States, but, I've been down once down in the US. I'm going back again. He just finished coming back from the Costa Cup, which is brand new, which is our guest next week with Max, which I'm looking forward to. And you start understanding different ideas and different concepts, and the bass associations in the area too. So we can pick and feed off of them and how they do things. And so that's kind of where, my experience in the tournaments, Nick's experience, and us talking to other anglers, and that's kind of where we come up with this number. From the time we do it to the time we launch, that could all change, obviously, because if we ended up with a good volunteer field and everything looks pretty good, then why wouldn't we? And especially, it's all boils down to registration. So if registration takes off and goes, we're just might as well keep letting them come in, right?
100%. Carrie's asked a question about an amateur division. I know we've talked about it, Nick. I know you've brought it up as well. I would have to say right now it is called an open for a reason, with no set divisions. I will say this, Dan and I had a great conversation last weekend with Marilisa, and I think we have an even cooler concept that we can announce at some point in regards to how we're going to approach the amateur pro side of things that I think will be very intriguing for multi-species anglers. I'll leave it at that.
I think go ahead, Nick.
No, it's you.
I think where we're going, when we kind of geared this event right now is exactly like we're targeting our what market are we going to be able to attract. This is the full intent of being a professional walleye event, so like our registration fee is going to be $500, teams of 2. And so kind of familiar with what we've been doing all this whole time throughout the circuits and stuff like that. But at the same point, we know the fishery is welcoming and we want people to get involved, because that's how I got involved in is getting into these tournaments and going. But at the same point, you don't want to jump into a tournament not thinking you can compete. And out here, like I said, anybody can really compete. The fish are there. A lot of people know that they're there. So, and people will spend their time. They'll figure them out pretty quickly.
No, 100%. Nick, I don't know how much time you've spent on this body of water, but what outside of your forecasting, your prognosticating in terms of sizes and weights that are going to be held up at the weigh scale, is there anything else that you would add in regards to this fishery that a lot of folks may not know?
So other than my scientific walleye weight guessing, abilities. No, I mean, it's anyone that shows up here is not going to be disappointed. I can guarantee that. It's 2 hours from Sault Ste. Marie. I drive there for day trips. I will drive 2 hours, drive past St. Mary's River, drive. Not that there's nothing like there's not quality walleye in the St. Mary's. We've seen that in the NOWT, and that was an amazing event. But there's something about Spanish River, the North Channel, the whale's back. These walleyes have whales' backs. They're like, look at you. I mean, you're just running through a quick video clip here as I'm talking, and that's why. That's why, Scott. You go out there and you catch them. You don't have to be a tournament pro to go out there and look like a tournament pro. It's that fishery does it for you. So to be able to go out there and have any fishing concept to break down water, even if you're not consistently getting 28s, 29s, 30s, 31s, you're going to go out there and you're catching quality fish all day. You want to go out there and pull around a bottom bouncer and a worm harness, you're going to catch fish. You want to pull live bait rigs, you're going to catch fish, jigs and minnows. And like I said, we were filming that TV show. We had that show. They allowed, I think it was 4 days, Dan? 3 days for the show. We had it done in a day, and we just kept building on it from there. And they couldn't believe it. Roadfish TV, if you guys check it out on YouTube or any of the video platforms like Prime, I think it's on Prime. It's on YouTube. It's you take a look. Roadfish TV. You'll be able to find the episode in Spanish. We went out and I was marking fish on plane, like as I was running by at 30 miles an hour. I'm marking pods of bait suspended over a big mud flats. And I was marking big fish as I was going through. I'm like, we got to go spin around and try these. I actually had to fight with the guys. And we were at the end of the day. We made one rip. I got a 13-pounder. And I think we got 4 fish while I was reeling in that, like 4 other bites while we were reeling in that one fish. 3 other bites, sorry. And we ended up getting a 4 or 5-pounder and then a couple of short ones there that all suspended out in that chasing herring around just before the spawn. So, I mean, it's if you want to pull cranks and you want to fish your strengths, you're still going to get big fish. You have the potential of having the best day of walleye fishing you've ever had in your life out there just by going to fish this tournament.
So true. And as a tournament organizer or volunteer, someone that likes to get their hands dirty with the walleye to ensure they get released, I was intrigued to see the depths that Dan was fishing at. The one thing I will say, barrel trauma, it's not going to be, I put it this way, if it's going to be at all a problem, it's going to be very, very minor because the fish are all running at that perfect depth, so that we're not going to be, hopefully not going to be seeing fish that are going to be targeted in 40 to 60 feet of water. The majority of the fish that you caught when I was with you, Dan, was less than 20.
Yeah, and that's when we're in November doing that. And we actually were catching some of them in 5 feet of water. So like they're there. Meanwhile, that being said, we were seeing anglers fishing in that 30-foot mark on those, and they were being just successful. So there's fish scattered throughout the entire water column. Like Nick touched, you got mud flats, we got mud humps, we got rock, we got all kinds of stuff, gobies, and so there's a variety of fish around there. That's one of the reasons why I'm also a fan of September. It is a transition time, so we can see a lot of fish movement, and it's kind of exciting because they can be extremely aggressive. They're it's almost like bass fishing for them. And in fact, we do well with Ned rigs out here in their situations like that. And the smallmouth too. Like a couple weeks ago, Marilisa and I were out and we were catching 25-inch walleye. And at the same time, we were catching 6.5 pound smallmouth. And it was like a school of them. And she's like, I'm ready to go home. I'm like, I want to catch more of them, but like when you have a fishery like that, because you've seen how far it was for us to drive. We weren't up for very long. This guy, I can just go back out tomorrow. And so I'm very spoiled. I know I'm spoiled, and I really want to share that with everybody else and bring that down here. And I'm sure there's a few people that come down here and won't care for it. I did notice.
Yeah, speaking of coming down, there is one question in regards to how far away they are from some other venues. Long
Yes.
Lac being one, Bobby is asking, and you guys would be able to answer that better than I.
You are 9 hours away from Spanish to Long Lac. I've driven it many times. It's not a bad ride. It's actually a nice ride, but it's long. It takes your time, but it's definitely well worth it. It's experience, especially fishing Long Lac. I find Long Lac fish is very similar to the Great Lakes. So if you're used to fishing there, you'll do well down here, in my opinion, anyways. And I'm sure Nick feels the same way.
It's because Long Lac's a great lake.
Nick, I'll pose this one to you. Joey's asking, will anyone be able to enter?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
100%. This is not an invitational only. Perhaps if it grows in the future, it might get to that point. But for right now, we just want to make sure we put on a good event, make sure that all the anglers go home happy, all the sponsors, volunteers go home satisfied, and it ends up being the kind of weekend that we're all hoping for and are going to be working. As Shane mentioned, how hard it is to put some of these events on. It is not easy. So tip of the hat to all those who do participate and get their hands dirty.
100%. And that's a big thing too. Is like you guys are going to have a good treat next week with Max and the Sail Cup. That was one of the best. I don't do a lot of bass tournaments, as people that follow me might know. I usually do one a year, but I'm more of the walleye side of things. But I fished the National Walleye Tour. I've done Masters Walleye Circuit. I've done the Michigan Walleye Tour, the NOWT, a bunch of standalone tournaments. Honestly, the Zale Cup that I fished a couple of weekends ago in Cornwall on Franny, Lake St. Francis, that was one of those events that make you feel special as an angler, where the sponsors they're everywhere. It makes you feel like it's a true professional event. You roll up, the way the docks are, they have scrutineers in the boat, and some of the boats at random, just to make sure that everyone's staying legit. You have like the flag boat, the weigh-in boats have flags in them that the sponsors. Like, it was just the experience as an angler to go back and fish that. MFN's done that fantastic. Like the championship that we fished, Scottie. That they hit that. They made that feel good. It made you feel like you're someone that's important as an angler, and that's what we're going to strive to do with this event as well. We're going to put it on for the anglers, for the town, for anyone that comes to visit to watch it. We want it to be that memorable event that no one's going to forget, because you know what? We're putting big money out there, and as anglers to go out and fish these events. And I mean, it's not something that we go out, we get rich at. It's an experience, and to be able to walk away with that experience and walk away with being like, I fished that, I did that event. And you can talk about it for years, and that's the goal that we're going to try and put on. So if anyone's interested, you're not going to want to miss this one.
I will say this too, on that point. I think it's a really good point that you make, Nick. If a 13, 14, 15-pound walleye is caught during this tournament, I think we're all going to be very proud to be associated, whether we're participating, volunteering, or a sponsor. When we find out, a potentially double-digit and then some walleye is caught during the tournament, yeah, that'll be something to talk about. I know I will be.
It's definitely going to be definitely. You think it's going to happen as a boat comes in? Like, oh, is this the one that's going to happen? Is this the one that's going to happen? It's just there's definitely potential there. And just to kind of touch on what Nick said, when we walked through the event and talking to it, when I was showing you around, it wasn't necessarily that I'm trying to sell the fishery. I don't have to sell the fishery. I'm just showing you the event, and I'm trying to, because we have the Township of Spanish. Their organization wants to be involved. They are involved, heavily involved. They're running the hall. They're running the bar and everything for us. So it's they're going to include their stuff. We're not quite sure yet what they're going to do. So this is going to grow as well to having more than just potentially a fishing tournament as well. Yeah, and like I said, with the boaters being there, they're going to be involved. They're going to want to come check stuff out. So, we have a lot of great ideas walking through, just knowing that you have all that potential at your fingertips in such a small area, right? I'm excited for it, and I'm not looking forward to any of the work though. It's
You don't have any of those little magic wands that we can wave around and it all just happens to show up on tournament day like we normally do?
Yeah, no.
No,
I'm used to being at work and you can point at someone to go do something. I realize, oh, there's nobody to point at. I'm the guy.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are gonna. I don't envy you because you're gonna be fishing it as well as working it. A lot of the work will have to take place prior to it, so I hope you two aren't too exhausted by the time it comes tournament time and you get to get on the water and hopefully be that one that lands that giant fish. But of course, September 19th to the 20th are the dates of the tournament for next year, 2025. If you are, we haven't opened up registrations yet, but I know folks have reached out to Danny and they've reached out to Nick to get a spot. We will be making sure that is available. We have to get all our pay accounts set up properly first before we can even accept any of that. But needless to say, the feedback has been phenomenal. What have you heard, Dan? What have you heard, Nick?
Go first, Dan.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've been very, very blessed. Everywhere you go, like from Sudbury to Sault Ste. Marie, anytime you pop into a fishing store, whether it's Moxie's or Maco's or Trading Post, something like that, and just anglers in general, when you talk to them, everybody seems to be pretty excited about it. Everybody's, like as soon as you tell them, like, oh, I heard a rumor there's a tournament. I said, yeah, I'm putting one on. They're like, oh, I can't wait. When's the dates? That's their first reactions to it. And just to kind of touch on that too, like I know the lodges. This is the first time in my life that the lodges have stayed open beyond October. Usually October 1st, they shut down. And this year, most of them ran until November 1st this year, just to accommodate everybody else out there. So it's pretty good for that aspect. And also one of the things I'm really happy about is I'm actually getting people reaching out to me wanting to volunteer for it already. So we already have people that they're not going to fish it, but they want to be a part of it. So that's exciting.
That's awesome. Nick, from a sponsor standpoint, because I know you have both your fingers, feet, hands, everything in our fishing industry from a vendor perspective. I know there's probably a little bit of buzz for some of the companies that you deal with sort of upfront and close on a regular basis, but I would imagine there's a bit of a buzz that you're hearing.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I don't think it's really got out to the vendors yet. As far as some of the local stuff like NXS Fishing, obviously my boss Eric Smart, he knows what's going on. There's been a few others that I've talked to that I'm really close with, but we haven't really released it too much. This is the first big announcement, I think, that hey, this is happening. This is a real thing. So I'm really hoping that there's going to be a lot more buzz happening. It's going to be a great opportunity. We're going to do some showcasing. I mean, we have Scottie, the social media legend, going to be emceeing this. That's you. And so we got the proper guys. You got Walleye Scottie being the MC of this event. You got this, we got the Township of Spanish putting it on to help take that off of us. For the hall and the bar, like Danny said, it allows us to focus a little bit more time on everything else behind the scenes to make this that special event for not only the anglers but the sponsors too, because that's important, right? Because without them, we don't have the prizes to give away to the anglers and whatnot. So we want to make sure it's a memorable experience for everyone involved. The crowd, we want to have the crowd involved. We want to have the volunteers to feel as important as the anglers, and we also want to have the sponsors to remember this, and then the anglers. Like the anglers are going to remember this with the fishery, so we're not too worried about them.
Amen. Well, speaking of sponsors, and it is the hour that we try to reach each and every time we do this, we do have to show some respect and a shout out to the sponsor that looks after this program, which hopefully will bring the light as Danny and I continue to go down. And Nick, you will come on when you can. Some of the other tournaments that are going to be available in the province of Ontario and maybe across Canada for that matter. But needless to say, some announcements have already been made for the North area, and especially the walleye tournaments that are going to be coming up, both with the NOWT and MFN Fishing. We'd like to have them on to discuss what's upcoming in their events so that we can share all of that with all folks to the north, so that hopefully we can get a bit of a buzz down here in the south. I'm honored. It is a true honor to be joined by you two each and every Wednesday that we do this. Dan, tip of the hat to you. And Nick, thanks so much for sparing some time for us tonight.
And just real quickly, though, I have to express my thanks to both of you guys for getting involved with this. I've been talking about this for a long time, and poor Mary Lisa has to deal with all of these conversations daily. I'm not going to lie about that. And you guys have jumped on board, and we've got a plan going. I think it's actually a pretty good plan. Usually, I feel it's a lot more loose at this point, but everything seems to be going in the right direction. So. Which is surprising having Nick involved because they're never plans like that.
Jeez, it was a flip of the coin whether it was going to be you or me, Nick. I wasn't sure who was going to be labeled.
Oh, it was always going to be me. That coin had two heads.
But thanks again, guys.
Right on, gents. Thanks so much for your time again, Nick. And Dan, we'll see you next week as we talk to Matt from Zale Outdoors.